What's up, Trek Nation, and welcome back to After the Snap. It's me, Tasha Pierce, and if you're a fan of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, then you've probably heard of the Changelings. These shape-shifting aliens are one of the most fascinating and complex species in the Star Trek universe. For those reasons, it was so exciting to see them reemerge in Season 3 of Star Trek Picard. So, if you're new to the franchise or just need a refresher on who the Changelings are, then you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll give you the lowdown on everything you need to know about the Changelings, including their origins and their role in the Dominion War. So if you're ready to get into Changelings 101, let's go. From a lost infant to a beloved member of the Deep Space Nine crew, Odo's journey is one of the most captivating in the Star Trek universe. Deep Space Nine's brusque Chief of Security Odo was a kind of Cardassian parting gift to the station when it changed hands. But how did he find himself there with the Cardassians in the first place? Well, Odo was found in his natural gel-like form, floating in a ship in the Bajoran system. At the Bajoran Institute of Science, Dr. Morpal studied him for 7 years. In his quest to learn more about the substance eventually known as Odo, he conducted all kinds of torturous experiments on him. Dr. Mora had not realized at this point that this blob was sentient. That is, until Odo, tired of being a lab rat, one day swatted Mora's hands away. After learning that this blob was indeed a living being, Mora continued to study him, but also began to teach him. When Odo chose a humanoid form, it was similar to Mora's, even though he had begun to resent the only father he ever knew. He got the name Odo from the Cardassian word for nothing, and that's how Odo felt, like nothing. He didn't know who or what he was. He had no clue where he came from. He was treated as a sideshow when the Cardassians ran the space station until Gul Dukat, noting his impartiality, hired Odo to find his would-be assassins. Odo always had a sense of justice and prided himself on that. And after the Cardassians turned the space station over to the Federation, Odo remained because laws may change, but justice is justice. Through Odo, we learned his species, whatever that was, would have difficulty maintaining a solid form for more than 16 hours. He would then revert to his gel-like state for a few hours and repeat the process. We also learned he could mimic anything down to the DNA and could sometimes even become a functional piece of equipment when needed. Up until this point, Odo was convinced he was the only of his kind. He felt more included with the Federation's occupancy at the station, but he was still alone until the discovery of the wormhole and its access to the Gamma Quadrant. This is right up the Federation's alley. They want to explore this new sector of space and hopefully bring more planets into the Union. But a group called the Dominion had the entire quadrant in a stranglehold, and they weren't too happy when this group of outsiders started poking their noses in Dominion business. They sent their foot soldiers, the Jem'Hadar, to take Cisco, Jake, Quark, and Nog prisoner during a camping trip in the Gamma Quadrant because any journey through the wormhole, however innocent, was seen as an invasion. After being rescued and witnessing the Jem'Hadar destroy the USS Odyssey, Cisco returns to Federation space and warns Starfleet of a very real and dangerous threat. When Cisco and a small crew, including Odo, takes the newly acquired Defiant back into the Gamma Quadrant on a search for the founders of the Dominion, Odo is feeling a compulsive pull to the Omarion Nebula. After the Defiant is boarded by a group of Jem'Hadar soldiers, Odo rescues Kira and boards a shuttle aimed straight at that nebula. Here is where they discover a rogue planet sitting smack dab in the middle of this nebula, and after landing on the planet, this planet has a magnificent ocean that looks remarkably like Odo in his natural state. Several of what appear to be changelings step out of it and welcome Odo home. Odo meets with a female changeling, and as they chat, he learns that they are the founders. They are a xenophobic race who have a huge problem with Solid. Of course, Odo wants to know why, and she breaks it down like this. Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, oh wait, that's been used. Many eons ago, a race of metamorphic life forms chose to travel the galaxy to seek out new life and new civilizations. To boldly go, oh wait, that's been used before too. Okay, the Changelings, as they later began to call themselves, found themselves unwelcome and mistreated because on their quest to seek out new life and new civilizations, Solid life forms were intimidated by their ability to shapeshift. They were beaten, mistreated, and killed. Those who survived relocated to a planet in the Omarion Nebula and formed what they call the Great Link, an ocean of changelings living together in their natural liquid state, sharing knowledge and protecting one another from the dangers of the world of the solids. But curiosity kills the cat, so in the 22nd century, the founders, a group of leaders of the Great Link, sent 100 infant changelings out into the galaxy to explore, gather knowledge, assess threats, and return to the link by around the 27th century. Because of the wormhole, Odo was the first to come home. Now, the founders have their sights set on the Alpha Quadrant to impose order, because what you control can't hurt you. Odo returns to the Alpha Quadrant with the rest of the crew of the Defiant, who were released because Odo would not leave them behind without a fight, and as a rule, no changeling would ever do harm to another. It should come as little surprise that the founders did indeed invade the Alpha Quadrant. They value order and control above all else. They view other species as inferior and believe that they must be brought under Dominion rule in order to prevent chaos and to maintain stability. They knew the United Federation of Planets and any of its allies would be their biggest obstacle. Hoping to crush the resistance of the United Federation of Planets, the Klingon Empire, and other powers in the region, they deployed the genetically engineered soldiers known as the Jem'Hadar in deadly warships called the Dominion battleships, along with the Vorta, a species that serves as, among other things, diplomats, field commanders, and administrators for the Dominion. Of course, the crew of Deep Space Nine and Starfleet weren't about to let the Dominion take over without a fight, and thus began one of the most epic conflicts in the Star Trek universe, with battles raging across the galaxy and alliances shifting at every turn. During the Dominion War, the Changelings formed temporary alliances with other Alpha Quadrant powers that were seeking to defeat the Federation and its allies, first with the Cardassian Union and later the isolationist Breen Confederacy, supplying them with Jem'Hadar soldiers and other resources. However, these alliances were always tenuous and based on mutual self-interest rather than any real sense of loyalty or friendship. Ultimately, the Changelings' desire for domination and their unwillingness to compromise or show mercy made it difficult for them to maintain any lasting alliances. So the war raged on, with battles happening all over the place. There were space battles, ground battles, covert operations, all that good stuff. And it wasn't just about military might. There was also political machinations, alliances being made and broken, and all sorts of complicated stuff going on. One of the ugliest events was when the founders and all of the Great Link seemingly came down with an illness. Known as the morphogenic virus, it's revealed that Section 31 developed the virus as a biological weapon and infected Odo to use against the Changelings. The virus was designed to attack the Changelings' morphogenic enzymes, which are responsible for their shape-shifting abilities. Once infected, the Changelings would be unable to control their shape-shifting and would eventually lose the ability altogether, making them vulnerable to attack. The virus quickly spread throughout the Changeling population, causing panic and chaos among the Dominion. Section 31 had absolutely no qualms about committing genocide in order to win the war. Instead, Odo was eventually cured of the disease by the best doctor in Starfleet, Mr. Julian Bashir, and he would prove to be instrumental in ending the war. The Great Link was slowly dying, and when the Dominion retreated to Cardassia Prime, Odo negotiated with the female founder. After linking with her and curing her of the virus, he promised to go back to the Link and cure the rest of their kind. She would only have to order her forces to surrender and immediately leave the Alpha Quadrant, returning all boundaries as they were before the war. He kept his promise, and his return to the Great Link has proven helpful in Season 3 of Picard. He learned of a schism in the ranks of the Great Link and warned Worf of a terrorist faction that still had beef with the Alpha Quadrant. This allowed Worf and Raffi to identify a suspect in the Starfleet Recruitment Center bombing, Titus Ricca, as a changeling, and put them on the next phase of their mission. Unfortunately, the crew of the Titan only learned of the changeling threat when one infiltrated the crew and sabotaged the ship. After revisiting the species, I can see why they would potentially want revenge. The founders were victimized by the solids, leading to their bias against the humanoid life forms all around them. They became the bullies of the Gamma Quadrant out of fear of being re-victimized. What we control can't hurt us. While I'm Team Alpha Quadrant all the way, the dirty tactic used by Section 31, an attempt at genocide, couldn't have done anything to earn the trust of the founders. This rogue group of changelings may feel like it's just a matter of time before solid society comes back to finish the job. This may be a preemptive strike that will lead to the next chapter of the Dominion War. Tell me in the comments if you've learned anything new or if hearing the Changeling Cliff Notes have given you a different perspective of them. While you're there, please like and subscribe with your notifications in the on position so you'll never miss an upload or a live stream. If you'd like to further support the channel, slide me a super thanks or click join and become a member, like these fine folks. With all that being said, thanks for kicking it with me. I'll see you in the next one. Live long and prosper. Peace.